Okay, welcome to part 2 of our 3-part video. In this part, we're going to start the engines up, taxi to the active runway 26 right, depart on our way to San Diego and start climbing. So, hope you guys enjoy part 2 of our 3-part video. I don't know for what, because it doesn't look like he's taxiing now. And, oh, he is moving. Okay, he's taxiing. He's just taxiing very slowly. Okay, so while we do this, remember we're going to make our turn. We're going to push our nose to the left. Just tell me this isn't the sickest game. I mean, this is beautiful. Okay, pushback has started. Let's ask them to steer us to the left. And yeah, hopefully he's watching. Hopefully he, yeah, we got enough clearance for this. There's 2 separate taxiways there, so. All right, engine start procedure. Let's go ahead and start engine number 2. Now, as you sit here, you notice that you hear in the game, you may have heard it, the air conditioning turn off. And if you've flown before, you've also experienced that flying. And the reason is because we're actually redirecting that air from the cabin to the engines for engine startup. So let's go ahead and well, let's take a look at our. We're seated a little too high. All right, so N2 is above 20%, ITT below 120. We can go ahead and inject fuel into that chamber. Set the engine to idle. Oil temperature increasing. Oil pressure is also on the increase. All right, we're starting to hear N1 come alive, so you're starting to hear the engine spool up. I need to fix my aileron trim. All right, everything's looking good here. All right, engine number 2 has.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display
Engine number
the
2 is
safety
alive.
procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please
And
remain in
ignition
your seat
off.
with your seatbelts fastened and your seats in
I'll
the
let that
upright
stabilize,
position.
and we'll go ahead and start engine number
In case
1.
of a drop in cabin
Once again, you're going to hear the air
pressure,
conditioning come
mask
off
will from the ceiling and should be placed over your
as
head.
that air gets redirected
If there is
to
smoke in the cabin,
the engine for startup. So the bleed air, the air that's getting sucked in by the APU, is getting redirected into engine number 1 now for engine startup. Once again, verifying. All right, we're greater than 20. N2 is approaching 20%. All right, 20%. ITT less than 120. Go ahead and set the engine to idle, injecting a lot of fuel into that turbine, and it gets heated, combusts, and then boom, it starts to ignite, basically. Those beeps that you're hearing are aircraft that are flying in. It's just VPilot letting me know that the aircraft spawning within, I think, 40 nautical miles of my position are not properly model matched. There we go. Electric generator 1 and 2 are now taking over. So APU generator is already shut off since it's controlled automatically. So we'll go ahead and turn off our APU. So we'll stop the APU and then hit the push power fuel button. Alrighty. We are just about ready for taxi. Alright. Taxi checklist. Generators 1 and 2 auto. We just verified that those are on auto. Crossflow auto override. We're going to set to manual. Crossflow auto override is right here. Set that to manual until we get off the ground and take off. Bleed flow set to auto. APU is already shut off and APU power fuel off. No lights required. Air conditioning, no lights. Anti-ice as required for this flight. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful sight right there. Aircraft taking off. You can't help but love this game. Air conditioning, no lights. So that's this right here. Anti-ice is required. It's 40 degrees outside. We don't need any anti-ice at the moment. Windshield heat low. Probe heat on. AC/DC electricity verified. Okay, so we're going to verify that real quick. So we're going to bring our electrics back up. So this is our AC electrical power supplied by the engines, and then the power supplied by the battery, which is charged by the engines, is displayed by DC, the direct current circuit, and everything's green and good to go. Put that back on our status page, and our brake temps look just dandy. Alright, that's our before taxi checklist. Taxi clearance received because we don't have anybody online. Flaps set to 8. Takeoff trim set. Our takeoff trim is specified by our performance page. Takeoff trim for the day is going to be 7.6. 7.6, go ahead and set that to 7.6 right now. 7.6 on the trim, set. Okay, trim is set, flight control check. So if you've flown before, you've probably seen your ailerons. If you're a avid window seat viewer, you probably are familiar with the flight control check, whether you know it or not. So I'm going to bring up our flight control page. Okay, we're going to do a quick flight control check. Going to be looking at this panel right here. So we're going to use our flight controls, make sure that we have free travel. So full ailerons left, full ailerons right, full rudder left, full rudder right, and then full elevator travel up, full elevator travel down. Okay, now we're going to do this all together. So we're going to do it all together. Okay, flight control is free and correct. But if you're someone that enjoys sitting at the window, you've probably seen the ailerons move up and down through at least once in your time. So that is our flight control check. That is verified, so that's a checklist item. And we always check our flight controls before, even in the Cessna. We check our flight controls because the wrong time to figure out that your yoke doesn't work is on takeoff or landing. We are so light. I don't know how to put the HUD up and down. So you see the HUD is stowed and put away. In my previous flight, it wasn't. We're so light though that we're taxiing at idle. So I haven't adjusted the engine power whatsoever. Give it a little bit of power though. I don't know how many of you watching this played Flight Sim X, Flight Sim 2004, FS9, or even P3D with a bunch of add-ons and stuff, but it just doesn't even compare. It just does not compare. I could never get my setup to look this good, and if I could get it to look this good, I could not get it to be this smooth. Not sure why we're taxiing so fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has advised that we are now cleared for takeoff.
Now,
Notice the cabin lights have been turned
what's
off.
really cool to me
Procedure for
is
nighttime takeoff.
when you approach the active runway, obviously it's using some sort of GPS tracking. It knows when you're approaching the runway that you're using and gives that cabin announcement that you're about to take off. Speaking of which, we're going to hold short here and we're going to make a call to the field to let them know that we're departing quite soon. Make sure there's no traffic coming in. Okay, so we're going to use the maximum length of the runway, and the reason for that is because runway behind you is no good. Having runway behind you does you absolutely no good. So we're going to taxi in right here, 26 right, and we're going to hold short right here. Right now it's very important. We have no air traffic control. I'm going to go ahead and set the parking brake. We have no air traffic control, so we have to verify that there's no traffic on the runway on either end or approaching on either end. So pull out our checklist real quick. Before takeoff checklist, parking brake set, reverse thrusters arm. Flight instruments check. Okay, so the flight instrument check on a Cessna is usually going to be verifying that our altitude is within limits of elevation. So this is showing our current elevation. We've got our altimeter set, wings level, nose on the horizon, airspeed showing 0. Engine instruments are looking okay, and yeah, our instrument check is good. Brake temp, check our brake temp. Brake temps are good. Okay, cabin crew has been notified and already did their announcement. TCAS on. TCAS on is a pretty simple process. We're going to, it's already on actually. So TCAS is on. Terrain radar, I don't know if that's modeled. And I also don't know how to turn it on. I think it's one of these down here. It's probably going to be a while before that. Takeoff clearance, pretend we'll give ourselves takeoff clearance. When we get takeoff clearance, landing lights and strobe lights come on, parking brake off, taxi onto there. Going to engage takeoff mode. And then we're going to stabilize the engines at 50% and engage takeoff thrust, which is also known as toga. Off the ground, we'll retract the gear once we get a positive rate, retract the flaps once we achieve a speed that we'd like. Reversers disarm through climb and autopilot as required. Taxi light turn off as the gear becomes stowed, and we'll change that crossflow auto override back to auto. Okay, that is our checklist for the moment. We are holding short of 26 right. Okay, I see no traffic on the that end of the runway, but I do see traffic on the runway. I don't see anybody coming in to land, so we will go ahead and call line up and wait. Vegas traffic, Envoy 688, lining up to wait 26 right for a departure to the west. Vegas traffic. Okay, brakes off. That's our line up and wait. Since we're coming onto the runway, an active runway, strobes and landing lights come on. This is going to be interesting. There's a lot of traffic here. Okay, he's off the run. There's 2 aircraft crossing the runway right now. This is there's so many aircraft here. This is easily the busiest non-towered airport I've ever been to. And I'm telling you, VATSIM can be a lot of fun. Look at that. There's three real-world humans taxiing around this airport right now, all around 26 right. And if they're doing things right, then they are tuned to my frequency and can hear me. I'm going to verify before we take off. So it's not supplying us guidance. Alright, I'm going to bring up the vPilot client, just make a quick message. Okay, Envoy 688 cleared for takeoff. Runway 26 right, clear for takeoff. Envoy 688. Okay, we're going to set our power to 50%. So the parking brake's still on. Alright, stable at 50%. Now we'll engage toga. Toga power set. Okay, power set. It's going to be pretty close to max power due to the density altitude. Okay, 80 knots, speed checked. Alright, V1, rotate. Positive rate, gear up. Look how silky smooth that is. I'll never get tired of this. Alright, whoa. Okay, let's pay attention to what we're doing now. Okay, so we're going to follow the guidance, and pretty soon here we're going to just go ahead and set the autopilot on. Autopilot engaged. Nav mode engaged. Alright, go ahead and speed up real quick. Go ahead and go to 200 knots. Alright, we'll go to speed mode. That activates our climb. We'll go ahead and decrease our thrust to climb thrust. Set up a 200 knot climb. Alright. Disengage that. Taxi light can come off. Alright. Climb power is set. We're going to climb up to 8,000 feet. And we're going to go ahead and put the flaps up. I mean, is this not an absolutely beautiful sight? if you're a flight sim enthusiast and you don't enjoy that, I mean, I don't know what you'll like. All right, back up in the cockpit. Speed mode is not holding our speed. We're going to go ahead and speed up to 290 knots. Actually, 250 knots. And we'll say ATC has cleared us to, let's call it, so autopilot's engaged, but it's, the speed mode's not quite doing what it should. Okay, I don't know why it's not climbing. It might have to do with the restriction. So I'm going to go ahead and slow us to... I think we have a restriction, though. No, we don't have a restriction. Why are you not climbing? We need to climb to 340, buddy. Vertical speed mode is not typically used. Certainly not for energy management, which is what we're doing when we're climbing and descending. Vertical speed mode is... I'm actually not sure what vertical speed mode is used for. But we're above 10,000 feet. We can go ahead and disengage the landing lights. And because it's smooth and nice out, we will turn the seatbelt sign off. Try to get just a few... Normally we use speed mode. Speed mode is basically we set the power and the aircraft manages the speed by adjusting how fast we climb. That, for some reason, it does not want to work for us, so... We'll try to get up to 340 and deal with that later. What a sight. I mean, what an awesome simulator. I'm getting 93 frames per second in a high-performance jet.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving sandwiches.
Okay. First of all, Envoy does not serve sandwiches on the CRJ 700. Okay. That's a damn fact. Okay, reversers should not be armed. Thought I turned those off earlier.